Here we go. The tie helmet. That's probably going to be an ETA. The tie helmet, the final leg, the last furlong, the end game. We are going to go from the helmet we built in the last video, which is this. We are going to put all the finishing touches on there. So that's the rubber trim, we're going to install the foams, we've got the pillbox for the back, we've got the stickers of the decals, we've got the little greeblies for the forehead and the visor. And I'm going to show you now how we're going to attach all of these to this, and then this is going to be complete. So without any further ado, let's get into this. Right. I've got a little way that I do this. You don't have to do it this way. This is just the way I do it. So here are little components, if you want to see them. Let's move some of that out of the way. And I'm going to start with these metal greeblies that sit on the ear. So we did talk about this before. Now, if you're a purist, they had a little bit of glue of some kind on the back of there. Bang, on it goes, job done. You could do it that way, or I'm going to change the camera angle because it looks a bit weird. If you're not displaying this helmet and you're going to be wearing this at conventions or swingers parties or wherever you may be wearing this helmet, it's going to be away from your display area. You probably don't want to lose this tiny piece. There we go. So this is the ear greeble. As we all know, this is the piece from the Mitchell turntable, which actually changes the speed. The drive band goes around this. The notch allows it to go from to go from this groove into the larger groove. Fascinating. But there we go. So that's doing the same job as the screw. We've just screwed that onto a screw from the inside. I'm going to do it again. I'll do it again on the other side and you can see exactly what I mean. But that is the end result. We've got our greeble attached. That isn't going to fall off. Safe in the knowledge that that is going to remain in position forever. So we'll do this on the other side. So I'm going to put the screw, I'm going to find the hole, and I'm going to put the screw through from the inside. I'm going to find it, there it is. So that thread will protrude from the hole, and then I'll just screw this on. It's just finger tight. There's no tools required for this. Again, I'm just holding it on the back with my finger so it doesn't spin. And there we go. 2 greeblies installed. Thank you. Okay, next, let's put the rubber on.
Are you not going to show how to do that if you glue them?
It doesn't really matter. I will mention gluing. Oh, what? Them? Putting them on?
Yeah.
No, because if you are going to glue these, attach them with glue, don't know what glue you would want to use. I never do that, because you're just going to get lost. We did originally glue them and they were falling off, so we thought, hey, find a better solution. Because when they fell off on set, it didn't matter too much. Right, so I'm just cutting this, the end of this rubber at a slight angle. I've offered that up and I can see there's a bit of an upturn on the rubber. So I'm just going to mark that. Don't want the upturn, want it to look quite pretty. Again, they didn't necessarily look too pretty on the original helmets, but we're trying to make an effort. You know, it's still got that classic 70s shoddiness to it. So, right, so I'm putting that on there and I'm just squeezing it round so it's going to act kind of like a spring. Now, I've not glued the back section of this ear, which means I can put a mark on there, and I'm making two marks. I'm following the line of the ear, but I'm also going to mark that down there because that's where I actually want to cut it. So if we remove that now, this is the angle that I want to achieve here, but I actually want to cut that same angle there. So there we go. Feed that onto the helmet. Rub off my pencil line. And that is the back rubber in place. And again, you can use a tiny little bit of super glue in little dots here and there, and that won't be coming off. Okay, now I usually start the front with the same angle that I just cut at the back. And it's usually a very good fit. So again, just feed this on. Feed it on, just gently bring that into place where I want it to go. I'm going to mark this with my pencil. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it just a bit bigger. And the reason for that is we can either trim a little bit more off, or maybe we can just squash the rubber up into position, which we can. That's lovely. Now on the original helmets, kind of this point here, where it goes from the cheek to this bulbous bit underneath, just there, and again on this side, on the original helmets, these are cut just to relax it, like so. Just allows it to sit down a little bit tighter. And that is basically the rubber trim installed, meaning we've got no sharp edges on the plastic that are going to interfere with the wearer, apart from these sharp edges obviously, but they didn't do anything about them, so I guess you shit out of luck. Wow, this is getting dusty now. It's picking up all the dust off this foam. Right, so we've got the ears, the rubber trim on. Let's have a little think about the bubble lens here. The first thing you'll notice is it's not green, it's a grey colour, and it's not super dark, but that's how they were. we can see this in a really good example of where to see this is the video of Stephen Lane on the Antiques Roadshow, which is a program here in the UK. They kind of tip the helmet in such a way that you can see through the eyes and into the void of nothing, so you can see daylight through them, and you can see that they're not super dark. Right, I'm going to trim the bottom just so it's a bit of a tidier edge. These are not cut to any shape, you know, like it's not all cut around, they're just kind of rectangular. Now we are going to have to cut a piece off the top yet, but I'm not 100% sure how much until I start offering it up into position. And I can feel that I'm right up there. When my eyes are kind of in place, I can feel that I'm up beyond here. So from there, I only want, I'm going to want about this much. So I'm just going to trim that off. So I'm looking at this and I can see I'm going to want about 10 mil or something above this this top line. So I'll trim that off, and I won't go too crazy, and I can always go back to it if I want to trim a little bit more off. But this first trim is going to allow me to get right up inside it. As you can see, I've not really been very neat. Just cut that thing right off. Right, I'm going to bring this back in. So I'm going to loosen these screws, and that just gives me a little bit of space. There you can see my little finger. That's in the gap between the faceplate and the panel piece that we put in there. So I'm just going to slip this up behind that. You may want to go from one end, run it along there. I find that usually works quite well. Feed her in. It's not doing today though. Let me peel the corners of it up. Get it. It's difficult to do it so you can see something on camera. But when we're in position, we can talk about it. Right, let's have a look. Okay, that's worked out pretty good. So there you can see the eyes are in position, and they're up behind this the sandwich in that section, and with the panel that we put in. So I'm just going to tighten that up. Okay, I'm fairly pleased with that. Fairly. However, it's got a bit of spring to it. So I'm just going to use a little bit of super glue, and I'm just going to put the super glue, I don't know if you can see this from above, let me see if I can manoeuvre this. It's very dark in there, it's difficult to see. Look at that, look at that, people, fantastic. Right, so this is the inside of the helmet here. We're looking beyond the chin strap. Okay, so there you can see the insert panel that we've put in that we're up behind. That's there. Okay, but this is still moving. So what I'm going to do is I want it to hold it tight up in that position. Okay, so I'm going to draw a pencil line. I'm going to put it where I want it. I'm going to draw a pencil line across the bottom of the infill piece. I'm going to let it sit naturally as it's doing now. I'll be able to see the line. I'll put a little bit of super glue on there and then I'll push it back into position. Okay, you're not going to see a whole lot of this on camera because it's a very difficult shot to achieve, but I think you'll get the impression there. So you can see I'm drawing a line on the bottom of this. As I release it, it springs forward and it shows me where it wants the glue to go. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue, just run it down that edge where I've marked it with the where it needs to sit behind. Push the eyes back into position. And it's all touching now. Alternatively, this is the way I would do it. This is the way I am doing it. But alternatively, there are a couple of areas just on the bridge of the nose, either side, around here, at the bottom of the visor, the bubble eyes. You could also put a little bit of super glue there. But I'd much prefer this method. It's a bit less intrusive and I don't know, I just prefer it. I think it's cleaner, better finish. So I'll just get that glue to go. Let's that. Okay, and that has now held that in perfect position, just where I wanted it. You can see the light inside there shining through. Okay, so that is what our inside's looking like. It's difficult to see because it's just so black. But the eyes are tucked up underneath that infill panel, and from the outside they are looking great. There, bubble eyes sat nice. Perfecto, very happy with that. Okay, so what have we got left? We have got the little greeblies that go on the forehead, the car panel clips, and the decals. Shout out to Jay Tie Pilot again. I think we mentioned him in an early video. Jay has made the decals. Now they do come as square piece and they are cut out by hand. And this is how we cut them out, because they're not cut out super clean on the original helmets. But I suppose you could make a template and then use a scalpel and go around your template. It's not what they did on the production, it's not the way we do it, but you could do that. It's an option if you want to try and make it look I don't know, like a super clean example. But if you're going to do that, you could probably get different decals, because you're obviously not going for that look, and they'd already be round, and you know, horses for courses. If you check your reference, you can see they're not the cleanest. They're cut all the way around the outside. As long as you're not cutting right into the silver area, I don't think you're going to have a problem. Okay, that's waste. Get rid of that. Into my bin. Right, now then, the next part, probably the more important part when you're applying these. Okay, because of the curvature of the helmet, the double curvature, the decal doesn't particularly want to stick on, so they just made a slit, an incision, a cut from here right up to the end of the decal. Now, if you look, these are all kind of equal sizes, and that one there is a big fat one. And that is the one we're going to cut, and we're going to cut it from the centre, not through the silver, just off centre. Well, it runs up the centre, but it ends up with that off centre. You don't want to cut from there through there, which you could do, but we're not going to do that. Just going to slice it there, nice and clean, one cut.
Have you drew that line on it?
Yeah, so that people can see. Okay, and that is now cut. That's where I want the cut to be. So you can see the silver line is intact. Now when we apply this, we're going to put it on, and it's going to overlap ever so slightly that way. Okay, it's correct, it's intentional, that's what we're trying to do here. Okay. Wipe off my the dust. I don't want any dust underneath the decal. Right, so I've got some reference up on my computer here of the position of the decals. I'm doing a background one. So I'll copy one of the background helmets, I guess. Get these moving. Right. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Goes quite close to the mohawk. About an inch from the bottom. Don't copy mine now. Have a look at the reference. Just smooth it down. Let me get this out of the way so you can see. Gently smooth it into position. So as you can see, I'm not using any water to apply these, which is a method that is sometimes used for applying the decals. There's no need, there she is, sitting pretty. Okay, let's do the other side. I'm going to try and get a reference of the other side so I can see. Okay, and same again, that same side first, which is now going to be on the inside. I'm just tearing that half of that off, just to make it easier to handle. And this is all pretty much just eyeballing. As I said, we've not used water. You can apply a little bit of heat if you need to. You shouldn't need to, but it sometimes helps if you've got a bit of a bubble or a crease or something. Right, get that going. I've left half of this on because you don't want to get any dust or anything nasty in there. Okay, and I'm just moving around, coming back to that overlap point. Like so. Okay, and that now that is looking mean. Okay, so we've got the decals on, we've got the air greeblies on, we've got the rubber trim, and we've got the bubble eyes in position. We're almost there now. Almost there. Right, I'm going to put the foam in. So we have this piece that goes in the centre Trident. I usually tuck it in that that panel that we put in that covers the hole. Okay, just check to make sure you've not got foam gushing or oozing out from anywhere at the front there, and that it looks nice. Get it all set up in there. Right, I'm going to cut about an inch off the bottom. Just a little too long. That's just sat up into the back of the helmet now. So that's just taking up a little bit of that void. That's how much I cut off. It's about an inch thick and it's about an inch long, so it's like a inch square of foam. Okay, the petal goes in. Seems to go in the reverse way as you would see it in a stormtrooper helmet. I'm not sure why, but that's how we see it in many of the photographs. And that gives us something that looks like that. Okay, that is our foam in place. Right, there's one other thing. We've got our pillbox to apply. And the pillbox, this is a resin cast of one of the original style boxes. And it's going to sit around there. Needs a wipe, it's got fingerprints on it. But it's kind of slightly slightly higher up than the gaps on the side. Now I don't usually do this, but I'm going to mark this because I'm going to have to hold this in a way I'm not going to be able to see it very well, to glue it on so you can see what's going on. We're asking for disaster here, aren't we? Right, let's just put a little pencil mark, approximate centre. Right, and I'm going to use the super glue again. So we'll just put a little on the back here. Not too much, you don't want it splurging out everywhere. Now obviously this thing has got a very flat bottom and this has got a curve going on. So what we want to try and do is almost force it flat. I'm going to be very careful doing this because if you don't do it correctly, it's very easy for it to just fling off. Right, this is how I would normally do it. And I'm pushing it really into the helmet, applying a bit of pressure. So it's going to try and take a little bit of that curvature out of it because it's gripping this piece. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. Have to clean that residue off from the activator and all of this dust before we do our glam shots of this helmet. Right, I'll show you this properly when it's all complete, but we're getting the idea. We've just got these two little clips to go on there. Nearly lost it. So they are going to sit here and they just kind of cover the join, this straight line there. Yeah, so as you can see, that one is covering that line. And there you can see the line there. That's the difference it makes. Different? That's the difference it makes. Right. So because this infill panel is slightly lower than the faceplate now, try and get that. Because this panel is slightly lower than this, and because this panel has a, let me make this work. Right, because we have this base and then it's raised by a few millimeters, that's going to allow me to stick this piece to that panel and then slide that down over the faceplate. And that's going to be beautiful. Now there is ever so slightly a top and a bottom to these pieces, so you're probably going to want to get them. Let's see if this helmet's got them on. Okay, my reference hasn't got these still remaining, unfortunately. So what I'm going to do is, oh, it's beautiful this. I'll put this picture up when we were talking about the Trident and getting this central, if you remember that. If you remember us talking about getting this Trident here in the centre. We'll have a look at this picture. Yeah, I'm sure you can do better than this. I'm going to bob these on. I'm just going to put a slight amount of super glue on that nice flat edge that we've got. And I'm going to put it in position and then drop it. So as not to get glue everywhere. And just hold it with my finger in position there. Now you can be as haphazard if you want. There is, as I said, there is kind of a top and a bottom or a left and a right. And I'm just going to try and get them both in the same orientation. Just because it's going to look a little bit more uniform. And that's not the right way, and that is the right way. So I've got enough time to spin it round. Just sit that one a little bit higher. I'm just eyeballing it so that they look something like intentional. There you go. So as you can see, it's softened that abrupt line that we had going across. You're going to see them just fine in a second when we show the finished helmet. There you go. And that is our finished background tie helmet. Complete. Move some of this stuff out of the way, and we can probably appreciate it. Rid of all my rubbish. Voila. Oozing with black goodness. Okay, there she is. Beautiful. Very happy. It's actually quite a satisfying build. And I'm going to put this helmet on one side now. And at some point, one thing that we didn't do is the screws here are brass still. I'm going to paint them black with just a tiny little bit of touch-up pen or a small brush with a bit of black paint. If hoses are going in here, we can cut these out, but that's fairly simple. You get in there with the scalpel or the X-Acto knife. They're not cut out neatly, to be quite honest. We may do that. We're going to revisit this helmet and convert it into a tie, because this is going to be a tie helmet. So watch this space for an upcoming tutorial where this will become its brother there. Okay, but in the meantime, we're probably going to be looking at creating the chest box and the armour for the tie. And as and when we do that, I'll probably show how the holes are cut in the helmet, because we're going to be attaching the whole thing together. So thanks for watching, guys. That is building an ATAT helmet. As you can see, not difficult. Sure, you're capable. And if you're not, we are. So on that note, I'll catch you in the next one.